Welcome, one and all. Come in, make yourself at home. Let's set aside all our problems for a little while, set aside our worries. It's full moon, it's midnight. The objective world doesn't matter right now. We're going to spend a little time just looking at a lunatic perspective. And tonight I'm going to start with something by a person I met, let's see, I guess it was a week ago today. And it was an unusual experience. I was on Paul Vanderklay's, what's his called, Bridges of Meaning, listening to the general discussion he does on Fridays. And I'm new to participating there, but I was there when the community found out that an active member had just died. And so I met Voth, not, while he was still riding this skin and skeleton and such, but I met him as a legend and a living memory. And so again, I'm not arguing about what definitions of these words are used generally. I'm just trying to express my own experience in the best words I can find. So I've noticed there's two kinds of memories, dead and living. A dead memory is something that's just facts somewhere, written down. Maybe a photograph, maybe even memories, but a dead memory doesn't do anything in the world anymore. It's just there. Whereas a living memory continues to have agency and to act in the world. And I immediately saw the spirit of Voth active in the world through all the people and their reaction to him. Also, like, his legend was so powerful that I, somebody who did not know him, felt compelled to co-host a Zoom meeting for people dealing with his death. Andrea with the bangs. Now, she had known him. She's active in that community earlier than I was. She made a video about him. And so you can see there where someone who knew him was acting in a different way than she would have if it weren't for his memory. And then when I encountered him as a legend, it altered my behavior as well. And I see that as a powerful thing. And so tonight, from my lunatic magic perspective, under this particular full moon, I'm going to be making an offering, I suppose, to his legend, to his living memory. Allow it to continue to dictate my actions. And through the combination of the effect he had on others that inspired me to do this, along with words that he left behind and that Tyler shared with me during that Zoom meeting when people were talking about Voth and how they were dealing with his passing. And so tonight, I'm going to let the dead speak through me and add power to the legend of Voth and to do the will of his living memory, because it seems that his will was good. And so I'm going to read Voth on religion. Belief is the nexus of humanity. Communication is nebulous, like two drunken people trying to find each other in an echoing forest, shrouded by fog. We talk past each other, over each other, and through each other. It is so hard to understand. Lost. We have only our own lenses, skewed by individuated belief. We try to describe our surroundings to the other who does not share our lens. They will not see the path we described in the same way, if they find it at all. How will they reach us? We are all unreliable narrators. We neither convey reality accurately to each other nor to ourselves. We simply cannot. It is too complex under the weight of infinity. However, we believe what we believe about what we believe. This is how we navigate that complexity. However, belief is not absolute truth. It is just a lens that can be molded, adapted, or destroyed. Destruction is the worst. Religion is a culturally, systematically, and morally unifying belief. It is a shared lens. It is a powerful nexus between the individual and the collective. When lost in the echoing, shrouded forest, religion gives you a compass and map. These do not cover the full complexity of reality, but they're good enough to find your way. You always know approximately what you should be doing. When Nietzsche declared God dead, he could see the cracks in that unifying lens. Now it has been shattered into countless pieces. We pick up a fleck of this shattered lens, a fleck just big enough to see ourselves. This feels like individuation approaching solipsism. How can one be in the prison of self and manage morality properly across the collective? Postmodernism and moral relativity did not destroy morality, but they are systematic of its death. Moral relativism is the death throe of unity. Without the rubric of an institutional meta-morality unifying us, people try to cobble together jagged fragments they believe go together. These strange bedfellows seem to form political parties. However, true unity is largely dead. To say God is dead is to say the God lens shattered into disunited moral decay. Nietzsche wrote cynical, condescending words about morality. He acted as if he believed himself above it. However, one can see beneath his snarky prose that he felt lost and alone. He seemed to combat this by writing morality off as weakness of spirit and religion as exhaustion, but he was kidding himself. In the last essay of Genealogy of Morals, he proposed moving past truth, because to him, the concept of truth is a Christian ideal. He proposed that this ideal spawned the materialist science that killed God. The search for absolute truth became patricide. This post-truth era Nietzsche saw it was a paradoxical attempt to step backwards into the future. He wanted to resuscitate dying unity by making a Kantian push at reinventing religion. However, he went insane when the facade of his power politics came crashing down around him as he tried to save a horse from its savage beating. What is my horse? Dostoevsky's horse was an old mare that did not drive him insane, but changed him through dreams. Without the necessary strength to pull a cartload of ignorant youth into the future, his mare collapsed. So they beat her to death, with a lens so shattered they cannot see the future anymore. So they live for the present and descend deeper and deeper into a hedonistic, nihilistic stupor, into determinism. Apparently, deterministic stupor kills horses. Nowadays, the youth stare so intently at their escapism, the world melts away. The kids are becoming unreliable narrators who no longer bother to narrate. They just consume. It is lonely to feed one's own hedonistic nihilism. So they become depressed by the meaninglessness of life. Unachievable, absolute, nihilistic truth is not the answer. Disunited, solipsistic, diversity of belief is not the answer. Nihilistic, YOLO consumerism is not the answer. Extreme, partisan power politics is not the answer. What can the dog-headed one do with the weight of the world? I will write them stories about themselves, and I will read to them if I have to. I'm going to take a moment of silence, complete this offering to the legend of Thoth. All right, that topic's done. Let's see who's here. So, Sally and Gloff were stopped by earlier to say they couldn't make it. But if either of you are watching this later, thanks for stopping in early to leave your greetings here for us. And we have Andrew saying, hi, Merc. I'm making some jerk chicken and cassava. I don't know what cassava is. I do know what jerk chicken is, and that's excellent while listening to you. Well, I hope you're having a good night, Andrew. And I have absolutely nothing else planned for tonight whatsoever. For those of you who are familiar with me, that's no surprise, I'm sure. And so we've got Ryan Holsapple, transformational facilitator here. Hi, Ryan. Thanks for stopping in. And Nolan's here. So I suppose until someone writes something else, a question, comment, I don't know, write whatever the fuck you want. We'll see how I respond. Till something else comes up, I'll say that earlier today, me and Nolan recorded a podcast with Dr. Oren Amate on the subject of death, which is a coincidence that tonight's stream has to do with death and that our podcast has to do with death, because we weren't talking about death for anything, for any reason associated with Voth's passing. It was because with Nolan's condition, he has a shorter life expectancy than he would without it. And he and I were discussing that recently. And I think he brought up that Dr. Amate had mentioned having experiences with death. So we invited him back on to discuss death, not from the perspective of how to deal with losing others or grief or anything like that, but from the perspective of how to deal with facing our own mortality. And Timothy something, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. Hi, Tim. I'll just call you Tim for now. I hope that doesn't upset you. Where am I from? I live in Quebec. Andrew says, maybe you could talk about how friends with differing opinions can talk about complex issues like the current riots and protests happening in the USA. Sure, let's see what kind of fucking nonsense I come up with on that topic. Friends with differing opinions. Okay, the way I'm able to have productive conversations with so many people is that I've learned from experience what I don't know, which is fucking everything. I really have no idea what's going on. I'm basing a lot of my interpretation of reality on frameworks that are built on internal assumptions, and I've had to set axiomatic foundations that while I feel they've been tested in my own life, it is coming from a place of intuition and obviously interpreting and warping a reality that is beyond my own understanding. Okay, so this ties right into what Voth had written about how none of our lenses are showing us this reality correctly. So, and it can be just like with the idea of something being out of your control. There's the Western reaction of this is out of control, everyone panic. And then there's the Eastern reaction of this is all out of control, everyone relax. And it can be the same thing with that. It can be, oh, fuck, nobody knows what's going on. What the fuck do we do? Or it can be, oh, okay, nobody knows what's going on. We can all relax about this now. We're allowed to have different experiences. And for me, when I talk to people on here, like, I'm sharing the way I see things. And first of all, I see things from multiple perspectives now because I realize that we need to limit reality based on some sort of frame or perhaps reality tunnel or whatever other term you want to use for it. We have to do that just to interact with it. And with magic, part of magic is realizing that you can alter the frames and alter your experience of reality and alter your interaction with it by playing with these axioms and by controlling your own thoughts and frames. And so I've set aside the framework of like objective right and wrong. And I'm just sharing the shit that works best for me. And I've no longer tried to understand reality in the way we try to understand facts for a test. Like the way, you take whatever course and you're supposed to understand it in a way that you can explain it all and it feels complete and you can pass the test. It seems to me reality is way the fuck bigger than that. And that's not what we're actually trying to do here. This is more like a game and more like a dance. And you embrace the mystery of it and you see, instead of getting frustrated that nobody sees the world the way you do. Fuck, why can't everyone see it the way I see it? You go, oh, cool. Nobody sees the world the way I do. That makes me unique. And that makes every other fucking person unique. And maybe it's like that tale of the blind men touching an elephant. Maybe there's something bigger than all of us. And maybe there's some value to all of our perspectives. And me sharing my perspective can be valuable to a person for two reasons. One, they may be further behind in experience or thinking about certain issues, so that what I share with them, if it happens to also be true in their reality, having heard me describe it might help them understand an aspect of their own reality. On the other hand, if someone else is actually progressing past my understanding, them listening to me get something wrong in an interesting way where they engage with the idea, if that prompts their superior perspective to define the reasons I'm wrong, it can also help the development of someone who's progressed past me. Because often we understand things in the way we understand how to ride a bike, not in the way we understand how to describe something. And so engaging with the ideas, that's dancing with the mystery to try to encounter everyone else's perspective. And obviously, at a certain point, you evaluate whether or not someone's idea is right or wrong for you. So, for instance, like some people will advise, like write some big fucking manifesto to go shoot up a school. And I would hope that all of us have judged that as something that isn't good for us to experience. But if you really wanted to understand their perspective, just to understand something, you have to almost be in a state of believing it. You have to limit your perspective to that and see and feel how they believe it, just to understand that. Then it's smart to be able to step back to a superior position and, having experienced that mindset, examine its use or not. Which the idea of shooting up a school, I find a useless idea. In fact, obviously destructive. On the other hand, when I encounter thinkers like Alan Moore, or Sam Harris, or Douglas Murray, or whoever the fuck, at first it's not just listening to it for where I want to disagree or agree. If it's a thinker who's worth listening to, and especially like Eric Weinstein points out, with certain thinkers, you have to listen to their way of using words because they've thought deeply about things and they've thought deeper than the level of language. Again, like what Voth wrote, there's so much wisdom in what that dead voice spoke through me tonight. People who think past the ability of words to convey have to find their own definition of truth. Like we see that with Peterson and Harris. They've each had to define truth for themselves because the way most people use it day to day is too vague, and we're often using the same word and meaning different things with each other. Whereas they both had to dive down and define words for themselves in more limited ways because they have to think at that level. How did I get on this nonsense? Oh, how come friends talk with differing opinions? So if you encounter a friend, whatever it is, like one of you is religious or believes in God and one of you is an atheist, instead of considering that a problem or an obstacle, see that as an opportunity to play a game. Think to yourself that that other person is living in a universe where to them, that is a reality. And so you can interact with your friends the same way you interact with a good book or a movie, where you're not questioning whether or not Yoda really exists while you're watching Star Wars. In the moment, you're believing Yoda exists. And that's the only way to experience Star Wars, is to allow the suspension of disbelief and allow the movie magic to manipulate us into feeling like it's real. So I find that takes the pressure off. However, I realize I'm also very fortunate in that a very high quality conversation partners show up in my world. And that's not true of everyone. So that obviously doesn't work if the other person insists on having a debate. And if their purpose is to convince you, well, you can still treat them that way. But don't expect it to be reciprocal with someone else. And if someone else is in that route of they're out evangelizing or trying to convince everyone of whatever, their political, religious idea, whatever, trying to convince you of how you should eat, if they really don't want to hear your opinion, just realize that. And if even when they ask you your opinion, you can tell that's not what they mean. Like they don't really want you to explain. They want to look for how to manipulate you into believing what they believe. If you encounter a person like that, you can see it as an opportunity to explore how they see the world, but don't look for an opportunity to share how you see the world. And so that'll come around to the saying about not throwing pearls before swine. If you have thoughts someone else doesn't want to hear, don't try to convince them that it's worth hearing. It's a waste of energy. Share yourself with the people who genuinely want to hear about you. But everyone wants to talk about themselves. So with friends, you can always just take the route of interest in their opinion and just keep asking them more. Tell me more. Why do you think that? And they'll enjoy getting to lecture you at length. But that's only if you feel like hearing it. Rant over. Anyone got anything else? I'm fucking tired. I've been working too much for months now. Andrea with the bangs is here. Hi, Andrea. Good to see you. And she says, I am constantly needing to remind myself of this, the pearls before swine thing. Yeah, and don't even fully blame yourself for that. because society's really built around encouraging everybody to do that because they can monetize that. So they make money off you arguing with people on Twitter or Facebook. The more they can make you click, they make money off of us sharing our ideas on YouTube, off of getting us to tune into the news and all of that shit. They control a lot of our time and attention and resources by encouraging us to argue with each other. And it's just done for profit. It's not done. The first reason most of that is being done isn't to improve society or to set up a good dialogue so that we can all work together. The primary motive for a lot of these systems of communication is economic. And so we don't worry about whether it's good or bad for people. We just encourage them to fight with each other so that we can sell them the sticks that they hit each other on the head with. And then we can sell them the bandages and painkillers afterwards. Tim says, it seems like there's an abundance of swine that have no interest in pearls anymore. Yeah, absolutely. But also, they're serving a purpose here too. And at least I could be wrong about this. And obviously, that's always a mix of things. But sometimes I wonder if the reason some people find it upsetting to see that herd of swine that aren't interested in their pearls is just because nobody is. And that if they just had a couple people that valued them. Because we get upset with people or things or situations when it's not giving us what we need. And if we try to get what we need from the wrong source, that creates conflict. So if you're going to the swine because you need someone to appreciate your pearls, that's where you're beating your head against the wall. And you'll keep doing it because you feel that drive to have someone appreciate it. The trick is to look elsewhere. And if you can find somewhere else, some weirdo who matches your weird so that they're actually interested, then you satisfy that need. So when you look at the group of pigs, you're not upset with them anymore. Then you can appreciate them for what they are because they do other things in the world. And they're at a level of development that's different, but not worse. And they contribute many, many, many things to society. Like a lot of us intellectuals and artistic types and such, spiritual folks, don't get a lot of the jobs done that those people get done. And there's also a beauty to a simple life lived well. Like a person that doesn't care about any of my fucking nonsense, but loves their spouse, loves their children, loves their parents, does their job well. And then, like, even if all of their recreational time is beer and football and mindless entertainment, if they're just enthusiastically enjoying that and leading good lives, like that's a wonderful thing and can be appreciated on its own if we're not expecting it to understand and appreciate something that just isn't in their nature at the moment. Everything's got its place here. Everything's got its purpose. Hi, Adela. Welcome. Welcome to Anom, who agrees 100%. And Tim says, who are you? I'm Mercury Black. I'm just some fucking lunatic that spends a lot of time alone and talks to an angel and invisible friends. Yeah, I don't know. That's me. Ryan Holsapple's the real human being. That's the other half of this channel. I'm the chaos half of sorting myself out. So who are you, Tim? Hi, Daniel. Good to see you. And yes, before you ask, I know it's been a long time since we've done a Lunatic patrol. We've been really fucking busy. But there's some good podcasts coming out soon to look forward to, and we're gonna try to do the next Lunatic patrol possibly Monday, or who knows. I'm chaotic, and depending on what happens, me or Shane may just spontaneously decide to do one Saturday or Sunday. But I think at the moment Monday's most likely, although also no promises at the moment. But I'm going to try to host another one of those soon. So we only have fucking 3 episodes left of Doom Patrol to go. And we're building to the fucking climax. So it sucks to take such a long break right there. I really want to finish up Doom Patrol soon. And did I have the chance? No, I did not watch the documentary you sent yet. I have been way the fuck too busy lately. I've worked to the point of getting somewhat overstressed, and I'm probably going to ease off a little. I don't think I'm going to need to take some sort of break where I stop doing everything for like a week or two. I think I'm going to take like a couple full days off at some point, though, and also just sort of ease off, because there's lots of days where I work over 12 hours. Like, I mean, that's also including taking an hour meditation break, or, you know, like taking breaks in between sessions and doing things to prepare, like to cleanse the energetic palate and prepare for the next thing. But I've been working a ridiculous amount. And I haven't had a chance to. Yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff that I've been meaning to watch. Tim says, book recommendations, nonfiction. The first thing that comes to mind is Shamans Among Us by Joseph Polemeni. Yeah, if you're interested in Insane Shaman, that's a book about the possible evolutionary benefit of schizophrenia and mental illnesses involving psychosis as a way of introducing shamanism to society. So, very interesting book. Adela said boundaries. LOL. I don't even fucking remember what I was talking about a minute ago, so I don't know what you're talking about there. Sorry, Adela. I'm too tired to pay attention to my own fucking nonsense. Besides, you guys don't need me to listen to me. I'm just talking. You're the ones who want to listen. So I'm not retaining my own nonsense once it's out of my mouth. Although now that I've called myself out on that, maybe I'll start just paying more attention. And Daniel says that's great. You keep yourself busy. Yeah, it's been rewarding. So I could tell, you know, I was pushing myself too hard because I was hitting points where for an hour or sometimes a couple hours, depression would really sink in. I'd get tired. I'd feel really overwhelmed, wanting to like quit everything. The opposite of fear of failure, like a sense of being overwhelmed by the level of success, you know, feeling too much attention, the sort of my inner child, some of my depressed sort of subpersonalities, or maybe my equivalent of Ryan's lazy bear. I don't have my subpersonalities ordered and categorized the way as well as Ryan, but I've realized some of them are upset that I'm doing the channel. And like, so to fall into Ryan's sort of subpersonality model here, where I'm not talking from the gestalt of myself at this point. Like, the gestalt of myself is thrilled with how well the channel's going. Very, very happy to be this busy. You know, a bunch of my mystic subpersonalities are just like, fuck yes, let's help as many people as we can. But, you know, to give a moment to the other subpersonalities to speak. And I'm not going to do the thing of speaking from their perspective that Ryan does so well. I'm going to say they, not we. Sorry, Ryan, I know I'm not doing this right, but their message this week has been, what the fuck are we doing? We had such a nice future planned. Also, I'll give a shout out to Andrew on this. Because I'd been experiencing this. I was talking to Andrew, Nolan, and Grizz about it recently. Also leaned on Ryan to sort of dig out these feelings and make sure I'm doing all my shadow work right. And Andrew gave me a tarot reading, which was incredibly helpful. Really helped me sort and define those last corners that I was sorting out. And I realized their message was, what the fuck are you doing? We had a really nice future planned. Like, we've adapted life to be able to live off of disability. And we had let the fucking world go. We built this magic shield around our own property, living out here in the middle of nowhere. And we were able to build our own world here. And we're very, very content having a very, very small number of people interacting with me. As much as this is very, 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 very satisfying to be active like this, it was also very, very, very fucking satisfying to just be and to spend a lot more time in a state of now or in communication with the invisible nonsense. And so I suppose those subpersonalities are mourning their vision of a couple quiet decades. And like I have noticed, and so one way that I was tending to those subpersonalities, once I noticed it, was I realized for a while now, I had been so fucking busy that I wasn't giving myself time to go meditate outside in the sun and spend time with my wild friends. I'd gotten so fucking busy in like working and interacting with, you know, friends across the screen that I was just going outside every day and tossing a bunch of bird seed and going back inside to work. Like I was just throwing out food and I wasn't taking any time to spend with the birds and the chipmunks and the groundhog that I've made friends with this year. And I fucking did it to myself today too. And I really wanted to go sit outside. But we had the recording with Amate, and then I had this, and I had some messages and other work to do. So I just ran outside today and threw seed. But yesterday, yesterday I think was the only day this week where I gave myself 2 hours to go meditate outside, like throw out the seed and then just lie on the ground and just be with the wild friends for a couple hours. And that really fucking helped. One point I'd close my eyes. I was laying down, like facing the sun, so eyes closed, everything's still bright red. So like the world dissolved into just light and sound. And that light was the warmth. And there was the feeling of breeze. So it was just the light and sound and sensation and just letting that go. And then coming back in and paying attention for a while and noticing that not all the time, but often I could tell the sound of the bird landing or taking off by the sound of its wings beating. Especially the doves, the way they let out this little coo in rhythm, like it's a really quiet little coo they let out with every beat of their wings. So you can always tell them. Or the grackles have a slightly different sound. And then I could hear it land on the tin roof. And then I think they're sharpening their beak. The grackles like to land on the tin roof and scratch their beak across it a couple times which looks to me like what you do with a whetstone. And then how fucking loud the groundhog got. And I've been thinking recently, there's this groundhog I've made friends with. I haven't tried to touch her, and she hasn't eaten out of my hand. I haven't tried to do that, but she'll come right up next to me and hang out. The only thing she eats out of the seed mix is the peanuts. I've been wondering why they're called groundhogs, because they look so much more like tiny bears to me. And then as I was lying there with my eyes closed, and she was eating peanuts right beside my head, it was so fucking loud and sounds just like a pig. So I don't know if that's why they're groundhogs, but she would just sniff and like, yeah, the sniffing sound was exactly like the sound of a pig, and the sound of her eating the peanuts sounded like a pig eating slop. You know, noticing the little things, like realizing that I can tell the sound of one of the chipmunks approaching. You can hear these little bursts of jumps through the grass, but that's also different than the squirrels that run by. Then the sound of the groundhog moving through the grass is a slow shuffle that stops every now and then. And you know, with all the talk of death and such, I only have so many summers. So I'm going to try to make a point from here forward to give myself at least an hour out there with them, if not every day, the equivalent of a good workout routine, or at least 5 days a week I'm out there for an hour a day. And also, I'm chaotic, and you know, obviously I come and go in bursts, and it's good, like Peterson says, to make hay when the sun's shining. So when I come alive in the spring, when I'm all fucking manic in the summer, is the time to push myself and produce a lot of content. Get a lot of work done, because I'm going to die in the fall and move into my hibernation winter death. Although I have a feeling every year I'm a different person. This is a phoenix cycle. I have a feeling I'll be able to produce more content like the upcoming winter than I did the last winter. Although never will my winter output match my summer output. So to a certain degree, I do work in bursts and then take downtime. Even while manic, I can work fairly well at overworking for a while and then getting some rest. But I think I'm going to try to balance that with a bit more of the Petersonian idea of aiming at a little bit of a longer run, to maybe try to find the level where through the spring and summer I can be more steady instead of working really hard for a couple months and then disappearing for a month in the middle of the summer and coming back. Maybe I can just ease off a bit so that I can work steadily right through till the fall. And then I'll see how hard depression hits once the seasons are changing, and allow myself to ease off as much as I need to. Della said, no worries, I get it. Love and light. Okay, see, this time I remembered. You're saying because I didn't know why you wrote boundaries. You're being sweet and telling me not to worry about that. And love and light right back at you. Did I see a lot of geese lately? One day about a week ago, I saw a ridiculous number pass over at once. And it was like a couple full minutes of that honking sound being really, really loud. And they took up a fair portion of the sky, because out here the sky's really big without buildings and everything. But I could see them quite far. Well, actually, they were coming from there. I could see them. The furthest that way was quite far that way. And the furthest it was, I don't know that I've ever seen that many in the sky at once. But other than that, I haven't been seeing geese often. Although I heard them passing because it's nice out today. I had the window open all day. While we were recording the podcast with Dr. Amate, I muted myself a couple times because I could hear geese passing over. but I wasn't outside to see them. And geese don't land in my yard, I don't think. I don't think I can remember seeing geese. I mean, not that I'm fucking awake or outside or looking out the window all the time, but I can't remember seeing geese land in the yard. And there's a blue heron that flies over quite often. I've never seen the heron land in the yard either. I get wild turkeys a fair amount. I mean, not that often, but occasionally on a regular basis, there's wild turkeys in the yard. Haven't seen them this year, but there was a beautiful albino wild turkey. Really nice white feathers that I saw around a lot for a couple years. And there's a beautiful white hawk, huge, that flies around occasionally, circles the fields out front, snatching up mice. And it'll fly over very close. It's just gorgeous. And the falcons are nesting this year. They're tiny little falcons. Last year, no falcons nested in the yard for the first time since I lived here. But this year, they're nesting in the yard again. They're cute little things. And the back of their heads have markings like eyes. So it looks more like they're looking at you when they're looking away. Then other than that, blue jays and grackles and doves and crows, red-winged blackbirds, a lot of those. Some sort of little birds. I don't know if they're chickadees or what. Wild rabbit. I don't think I've seen a wild rabbit in my yard. I've seen wild rabbits around here. But I don't think I've seen a wild rabbit in my yard since I've lived here. I've had coyotes right up in the yard. I've seen signs of a bear having been out behind a number of times. You can tell the way they roll around on the grass and crush small trees and stuff. So I've seen that there's been a bear around. I've just never actually seen it. Okay, I've only been going 45 minutes, so I can't wrap up yet, but I really got to piss. So I'm going to be back in a moment. Enjoy your moment of now and see if you can just enjoy yourself, or if you've got shadow work you've got to do because you've got some voice nagging in your head. Anyway, back in a minute. Okay, and hey, Asa, yes, Nolan let me know you'd written into the channel email, wanting to talk soon. Yeah, I have openings tomorrow. You can either write Nolan back to arrange a time, or because I know the last times you and I had talked, I still don't check the channel email myself. Ryan and Shane and Nolan do that. I can't handle too much business shit, and I've just never logged into the channel email. So Nolan did just let me know about that, and he had sent you a message back asking you if you wanted a spot tomorrow. But since we'd last talked, I've gotten more active in the channel, taken on more, and I've gone the step of, if anyone wants to contact me directly on the Discord, I don't remember if you're on our Discord or not. If you're not, join the Discord, and if you click, like right click my name, you can send a private message. Yeah, I've taken on letting people message me directly there. So if it's not about me and Ryan or me and Nolan or something like that, because at the end of our podcast today, Nolan made the offer that if anyone ever wants to talk to me and him together, he's also volunteering to make himself available for private sessions or for audience guest sessions. Like if someone wants to record a podcast and talk to me and Nolan, he announced today that he's going to be doing that as well. So if it's something more official, like you want to talk to me and Ryan, although Ryan's on a break right now, or if you want to talk to me and Shane or Nolan or something, right into the channel. But if it's just a private one-on-one with me, just reach out to me on Discord and we'll set up a Zoom meeting or something. But I've got time tomorrow. I've got time slots open Sunday. I've got time slots open Monday at the moment. Tuesday and Wednesday next week, I'm booked up. Oh, and probably Monday night we'll be doing a Lunatic patrol, like a Zoom party. But that's not for sure yet. So I might have time Monday night or I might not. Also, for each of those days, I've got a bunch of balls in the air and some might land on some of those days. But once we confirm a time, I won't book something else over it. The old god said, very zen. Who is? You are? Very zen? The moment? Everything's very zen. You get it. Okay, Andrew says, if you could create a real-life superhero to come improve the world, what would their superpowers be? Their superpower would be wise enough to know that things are exactly the way they fucking should be. And so then it would be safe to give that character every power in the universe where it can manipulate all of reality with its thoughts. You could give that superhero character all of Thanos' abilities with all the Infinity Gems. And we wouldn't get like a Twilight Zone kick in the teeth at the end, like a twist ending of it all going horrible, because the character has the ability to know that things are all like this for a reason. That's the nonsense I came up with right now. I bet you if you ask me on a different night in a different mood, though, I'll come up with something different. That depends what sub-personalities are active and, I don't know, what stars are overhead and such. That was probably a disappointing answer. Sorry, I guess I'm that kind of asshole tonight. And Scott says private would be preferred. Yeah, I knew with you it was private. I was getting more general there with everyone else. And so are you on our Discord? And if he says no, would someone give him a Discord link? And yeah, that goes out to everyone. I'm trying to step into this job more. So anyone who needs to or wants to reach out to me directly can there. And for now, although I drop the ball occasionally with some shit, like if Elder watches this at some point, or if you're there now, Elder, like, fuck, I know I threw too many balls in the air and I never got back to you about coming on like live, because that's going to be fun. And yeah, you want to come on live instead of recording. I've just been so fucking busy. And like, yes, I've forgotten where I remember occasionally, okay, after I do this or this, I'm going to go message Elder, and then I fucking forget again. So even though I don't know you're there, just in case you watch this, I'm going to throw that out. So I drop the ball occasionally, especially if people don't check back with me. But I think I'm doing pretty good at responding to shit. And Scott says, no, for some reason I can't download the app. All right, do you have Messenger? I'm trying to keep my Facebook as small as possible. But if you have Messenger, let me know and I'll get Nolan to send you that, like the link to my Facebook page. And then you could message me direct on Messenger. And then if you don't have that, let me know and we'll send you my email. I'd prefer to keep as much as possible of the work on one site, like just on Discord, so that I can check messages with like really close family and friends on Messenger without also seeing a bunch of other messages I need to answer later. I'm trying to keep my Facebook and also, yeah, I've got sort of different things on Facebook, different contacts on email, and a different kind of contact on Discord. So I'd like to make as much of as possible of the sorting myself out, audience, community stuff on the Discord messages. So that when I'm in a mode of like, hey, I want to set work aside, I can go on to the other spots and there's not too much of that. But yeah, you're a good friend and we've got to find a way for you to be able to access me. So just let me know which, like through, like just answer Nolan and let us know what contact you want for me and we'll set something up. Also, I can barely use my computer, so I don't know how to set up a Zoom meeting. Fucking so far, like 9 out of 10 people wanting private sessions with me know how to make Zoom meetings. So as fucking stupid and unprofessional as that is, everyone else sends me Zoom links. If you know how to do that, cool. If not, let me know and Shane or Nolan will have to fucking set one up for us. But that's no problem. They don't mind doing that. So we can schedule that. Adela says, sometimes you're the opposite end of the outcome you thought, so we'll figure something out. Or sometimes you're the opposite end of the outcome you thought you wouldn't expect. LOL, duality for you. And Scott says, thanks, man. I'll email. Yeah. All right. We'll figure something out. Cool. So what's on everyone else's mind? We're coming up on an hour now, and I let myself quit after an hour for these things if I want to. I don't know if I'm going to want to once we hit the hour. But I'm in one of these moods where at the end of those rants, I just like right now, I'd rather just shut up. But I'm explaining that. So I think I'm going to shut up for a minute and just let my nonsense carnival take a few deep breaths. And if people put things that inspire more random nonsense to come flooding out, maybe I'll be on for quite a while longer. However, if everyone else is tired of thinking of things to ramble about, maybe we'll wrap up soon. Anyway, I'm going to shut the fuck up and just breathe for a couple minutes. You all can do whatever you want. Breathe or write in the chat. Oh, see, isn't that better? I talk way the fuck too much now. I used to get to be quiet for such long stretches. And so Adela is asking, martial law, anyone? And knowing her, I imagine she's not offering to impose martial law if you want her to. And her follow-up statement is, "This is not America." And that appears to be a David Bowie quote. And so since I don't think she's offering to impose martial law, I bet she's asking if anyone has any thoughts on, I suppose, the current situation in America. And I really have no idea what's going on. I've been too busy to pay attention to news at all. I haven't been watching any Tim Pool or Joe Rogan or anything even like that. So the only bits I've heard are from conversations. So I'm aware there's riots and other stuff going on, but I really don't know the details. And my thoughts on whatever's going on is that it's all a part of some sort of alchemical process going on in society. And that all I have to worry about is playing my part in this big game we're all playing. And I've got a pretty good feel for what my particular part is. So I'm focusing entirely on that and trusting that if everyone else does the same, everything will work out. And that if it fucking doesn't work out, then it wasn't supposed to. Because that's what would serve us collectively best and provide the most growth for each and every one of us. Della says, Merc, fast forward 3x? What? So what about you, Andrew, if you're still there? Something else you want to hear a bunch of nonsense about? Because I'm really enjoying the way it feels to shut up right now. Adela says the agenda, hella coming together. And just a reminder that this is my space. I'm going to call the rules. And so, again, nobody's arguing about what the truth is here. So if anyone has a different opinion from Adela, the idea of this space is we're just interested in hearing everyone's perspective. Andrew tried to get me to sing a song. Nice try. That's even less shutting up than talking. Hey, Gloff, good to see you. How you doing tonight? I was so close to calling this a wrap. But since you're here, what do you want us to talk about for your amusement? And Adela says, you're right, though. I should not worry about things not in my control. Well, not if you don't enjoy it. I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. It does provide opportunity. Remember that idea of our sorrow carving the empty space that fills up with our joy later. Or Alan Watts' idea of suffering is when you're pulling back on the bowstring and that you're doing it so eventually you can release and fire in the opposite direction. So by all those sort of magical and spiritual ideas of polarity, if you wanted to get really wrapped up in things out of your control and find a way to suffer intensely, you might want to do so just for the release of letting go of it when you eventually choose to. On the other hand, if you're tired of how that feels and you prefer and you want to experiment with feeling more the way I do sometimes, then You know, practice on not worrying about things that aren't in your control. And it's just like with meditation, and there's various kinds of meditation, but when it's the meditation of trying to clear your mind and just be in the now, it's, you know, you focus on your breath. When you find that your thoughts begin wandering or that you begin thinking, a dialogue starts, you just observe, okay, I've started doing that, and you come back to the breath. So if you want to do this sort of thing, you will find that when you're trying to focus, like instead of come back to my breath, it's, hey, come back to what's in my control. And you'll get into that state and you'll fall back into the old pattern and find yourself worrying about things outside of your control. Again, when you notice that, just become aware of it, remind yourself, come back to what is in your control. And it's a practice where the more you do it, the easier it is, until eventually your brain begins doing that automatically, which all the neuroplasticity shit shows. So it's just a matter of thinking it long enough to create the neural pathway as a deeper trench than the others, and it starts going automatically. And those are the ways you can play with magic and alter your experience of reality, is by disciplining your mind and choosing which framework you want to apply because you've experimented and prefer its outcome. And Gloff is up past his bedtime. Gloff says, don't worry about my or anyone's amusement. Amuse yourself. That's what I do. All right, Gloff gave me permission to just hang up at any point now if I find that amusing. And I don't know what the fuck I'm going to decide to do. Andrew says, talk about bedtimes. Children here in Tonga do not have bedtimes. Oh, yeah, I'm interested then. So does that mean that kids are awake at weird hours, or without a bedtime, do they naturally fall into the natural rhythm of the day? So what do the children in Tonga behave like when they don't have their own bedtime? Because I don't give myself bedtimes. I allow myself to sleep naturally, because especially like with bipolar disorder, it's really important to get as much sleep as you can, sort of. And so I go with my natural rhythm, which is all fucking backwards, so that I feel like going to sleep roughly at sunrise or just before, which changes with the season. And then 99.7% of days I wake up without an alarm clock. And while my kids like live with my ex, and they have bedtimes there when they sleep at dad's place, because they've got rooms here as well. And sometimes like when the little ones sleep here, sleeping at my place is like a cheat night where they can stay up past bedtime. So I'm not a good person to ask about scheduled bedtimes. Fuck, I hated them as a kid. And Gloff now feels inferior. He says the children in Tonga are more badass than me, Andrew. That put an image in my head of Gloff getting harassed by a bunch of little kids. Thanks for that. That amused me, Gloff. I appreciated that image. And Scott says, what times are you usually available? 3-hour time difference, right? I'm forgetting where you are, but I'm Eastern Standard Time. And that's always, anytime it's like a Lunatic live at midnight, that's midnight Eastern. Same thing with the Doom Patrol shit. And lately, I'd say between 4 p.m. and midnight, I can book. Most days. That's the best window. Sometimes I can meet a bit earlier, but again, I don't like to get up by an alarm if I don't need to. And, you know, it's good to have a bit of time to wake up, but there are days where I wake up earlier. I get up, and with my first cup of coffee, I feel like getting to work. If that happens naturally, I might message you earlier and say, if you were, you picked 4. Or if you just wanted to know if I'm ever available earlier than or later than that, and you can be a bit more flexible, I could just reach out to you one day when I'm awake. But usually between 4 and midnight, like as a start time, so that if it's midnight, even if you need a 3-hour session, like I'm good to work right up till 3 a.m. Gloff wants me to get Big Lenny on, and I don't know who Big Lenny is. So I also don't know why you want Big Lenny on. Who's Big Lenny and what's so great about Big Lenny? All right, cool. Let's learn more about Tonga. From what I've seen, they go to bed late, and a lot of them fall asleep at school. That sounds like what I would have done. And then do they get in shit for that? Or is that the culture where they just let them sleep at their desk? And Andrew's saying to Gloff, yes, I would love to see Big Lenny talk with Mercury. Well, fuck, am I the only idiot who doesn't know who Big Lenny is? And Dallas is laughing at me. Gloff says they'd surprisingly get along because Merc is not a cookie cutter. No, I don't do any baking. And Andrew says, have you and I talked about Big Lenny before? Okay, yeah, I'll just read your conversation. And Gloff says, we have not spoken of Big Lenny. Jason, maybe. Fuck, who's Jason? And Gloff says, I'm convinced Big Lenny is a Jungian archetype. Interesting. Which archetype? Back to news from Tonga. Teachers don't care if they fall asleep at their desks. Oh, I would have loved that. They don't really teach them anything. They just write a lesson on the board for them to copy down. Yeah, I would have loved that when I was a kid. And I did much better than this, by the way, with the podcasts we recorded this week. We've got 2 good ones coming out. There's none of this nonsense of me just sitting here chain smoking. As much as I can often not see the value of my own content, like I've discussed often. You guys have heard me bitch about that enough. So I will say that during the last 2 podcasts we recorded, one's going to come out this weekend. I think maybe tomorrow, or technically today. I think of when I go to bed as the end of the day. So it's still today for me. One might go up tomorrow. But there were periods during both of those where the conversation fell into like a flow state. And for at least a couple minutes, I felt like, oh, okay, I can see that I'm actually saying something here worth putting on YouTube. And so hopefully I didn't build it up too much. If you'll sit through this fucking nonsense, you'll consider that good content. All right, back to learning about Big Lenny. Big Lenny is a 700-pound ripped freak. He loves 10-10-10s? What? Fenibut, I don't know what the fuck that is. And Christina Broccoli. Are you making shit up now? Also, I don't feel overly detached from reality, but that feels like nonsense to me. Am I no longer understanding English properly? What the fuck did that mean? I don't know, but if you end up watching this, Big Lenny, sure, I'll talk to you if you want to. Adela says, they want us to stand 6 feet away from each other on an elevator. Silly rules. No, do you comply or just stay away? I have no fucking idea. Because before any of this pandemic nonsense started, I didn't go out in public. So it's not a problem for me. I don't know what other people think of that. Okay, now Gloff says COVID-19 is in quarantine because of Big Lenny. Big Lenny sounds amazing. Now Andrew's pointing out how I'm mentally deficient publicly. Andrew says, Murph, you and I have talked about Big Lenny before, but I'll explain more next time we talk. Okay, cool. Also, later I might remember, because my memory's weird. Sometimes when I'm not in the mood, when I'm in a mood that doesn't match up right with the mood I was in when I learned something, I don't remember it. And my brain's a load of fucking chaos. So there's things where I've seen it before where I say something, you know, someone brings something up and I say I don't know what that is, and then a day later I access some memories and I'm like, oh, I fucking knew what all that was. So between now and us talking, that might come back to me. But at the moment, that's fucking gone. Della says, good night, Merc. Sleep well. No, I don't know Big Lenny either. And now Jason, who's Jason? I don't know who Jason is. But have a good night, Adela. How about everyone else? Everyone ready for bed? I'm not ready for bed, but I'm ready to shut up anytime. I just want to sit quiet for a couple hours. And lately, the sun's coming up around 4 a.m. And I don't like seeing too much light before going to bed. I love the summer sun once I've woken up. But if it's the end of the night and I'm going to be going to bed, I don't like seeing the sun first. But I've still got a couple hours to relax. Even if anyone else wants to keep me on for a while longer. Well, if I didn't let myself do this badly, I wouldn't be doing any of it at all. But I hope some of my nonsense tonight was helpful to someone or enjoyable in some way. No one's writing anything else. So I'm leaning more towards wrapping this up. So if no one has anything else to say and you don't feel like sitting quietly, thanks for coming tonight. Good night. Anyone who just wants like a moment together quietly, I'm going to do that. Maybe if something catches my eye, I'll start rambling again, but if not, we'll just take a moment of silence that you can do whatever you want with. Oh, something came to mind if you're still there, Andrew. I was hanging out on Paul Vanderclay's Discord today. Paul does that voice chat thing on Fridays. So I was hanging out there and people asked about you. So forget who it was, but someone brought it up and a few people were curious to hear if I still talk to you. And so I didn't pass on any, private details about you. I just told them that things were going very well for you. And they were very happy to hear that. And you might enjoy those voice chats. Paul does them Friday, I think 1:00 Eastern. Gloff gave me permission to amuse myself however I wanted. So I feel like shutting up for the night. Thank you, everyone, for coming, or anyone watching this later. Hope everyone has a great night. Blessings and lunatic love doll.